Alright, so we just got back from a trip. I've taken several trips on this boat now, and I can tell you a few things about it. One, we get about 6.5 miles per gallon. Two, we average a little over 6 miles per hour in the waterway. The wind doesn't affect the boat much in its speed because it's a displacement hull, but the current does. And this boat has a 50 horsepower fuel injected motor. You may be able to get better gas mileage than that if you just had a 25 on it. The 50 does help me in the marina sometimes when I need to muscle the boat around. The project today, however, is to finally finish these floors. I'm going to need to sand them, and I'm just going to sand them and stain them real quick. In an earlier video, I pressure washed the floor, and that made a little bit of a difference. And then, as I said earlier, we've taken several trips in the boat, and I made this just out of plywood. I'll probably do it a little bit better later. That fits in there perfectly. I know you can't tell. Let me see. There. That fits in there. I may make one that's a little more flush later, but there we go. But I'm going to sand this bad boy, and we are going to put some teak oil on it. I'm going to work with this. Okay, here we are up in the V-berth, and we're going to lay this on there. I'm going to lay it on there pretty thick. You can see I'm just soaking this foam brush in here. And then I'm laying it on there pretty thick. There we go. All right, it's coming along pretty good. I'm putting it on there thick because it's super hot and it's going to have days to dry, so I'm not worried about putting it on there in a little thin layer. I mean, it's thin, don't get me wrong, but it's thicker than you would paint if you weren't on a flat horizontal surface. It's coming out pretty good. One of the hardest things is it's very, very hot. I'm having to be on a towel to keep my sweat from dripping onto the wood. But it's coming along pretty well. Okay, this is right after I finished. It looks very wet. Like I said, it's on there pretty thick. We'll see how it dries. I'll come back and shoot a little bit more in about an hour. Okay, this is it. Several hours have gone by. The floor is finished. I'm not doing any more. The floor is dry to the touch. I also stained the cover for the bilge, but it looks great. And I'm happy with it. If you look back at the original video, the floor back here was basically black, and throughout the last couple of months I have pressure washed it. I've sanded it. It wasn't difficult. It didn't take very long. And then I just teak oiled it. Of course, there are some marks like you see right there. And that's a little darker area there. There are definitely imperfections, but the imperfections actually look pretty neat. And that's where we're at.